You're listening to the Beyond Unreal podcast. As always, I am the White Dragon.
This is Sir Briz.
And we have some friends with us this week. We have
TimEh!
Zaccubus.
Get with it! Get with it!
Sorry.
You!
MaxCarnage.
No. Alright, so we're here in the hotel room, evening after the big playtest at Epic Games. This is the third playtest that they've had.
It's good. Keep going.
Keep going with it. And
I like this tape.
Yeah, I love it. So we're having fun.
Yeah.
Right? So let's talk about what we did today, the competitive angles. So it seems like Epic is really pushing the competitive angle, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And it's really good. They're doing it with the spectator mode, and a lot of the suggestions that I made in previous videos have actually gone into the spectator
mode. Oh, yeah.
mode.
So almost all the things that you mentioned in the one video
Yeah.
you made about what should be in spectator mode made it into that.
It pretty much has. And the other stuff as well that I've mentioned, they're going, we've already thought of that. We're way ahead of the game now, and they're coming up with new ideas all the time, and it's going to be the first FPS game that is going to have so much potential in the spectator mode that you're going to be spoiled for choice, and I imagine other games will be stealing it.
Oh yeah. Well, so they have a lot of features that I have seen in other games, but there's things like you can see through the walls.
Yeah.
You can select. They have keybinds and stuff, so you can easily select which player you're looking at. You're looking at the flag, so on and so forth. But I also they're still talking about the server automatically recording everything and you being able to rewind like live and see things during halftime, and it's
totally the right step in the right direction.
Well, and we were talking to Steve about that too, and he was saying, you know, it'd be cool if you could click on somebody's name in the player list, and then when that stat pop-up comes up, there was a button that said highlights, and you could see a few of the highlights from that person's games over the past however long. Stuff like that would be really cool, and you know, it feeds into people wanting to share everything they do, and you can have them, you know, post their highlight reel on Facebook or whatever, and just like building interest and engagement in the game.
It gives a more social aspect of it, that you can take that clip straight away and upload it to YouTube, as you said, and then all your friends can see it. And that's what's important with a game like this. It needs to bring in people with that social aspect of it.
Because let's be honest, like UT before, if you wanted to record something in UT, it was a pain in the ass. I mean, I remember I wanted to watch demos from UT2K4 at the time, and then you didn't have this file and that and blah blah blah. So it needs to be like play, record, okay, save, share. It needs to be like 2 or 3 clicks.
Yeah.
And I think it was a huge problem in UT before. The demo playback, the spectator, everything is getting like in its place now, and yeah, it's great to it's really important. I don't think Epic realized this till now, that esports are so
it looks
important.
like they're catering for almost like the noob aspect of watching a replay. So you know, like as you said, just one click, watch the replay, you can find the best moment very quickly. Or you can be more dynamic, you can go set your own camera angle, so you can watch that flag run from one place to the other. That was totally epic, and get a good frag video, and then maybe convert it into an AVI at 60 FPS through the game. That would be phenomenally good.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like, the capability's there. It's got to be in there, right? You know, streams scrub back and forth, and it gives me, like, I've started to kind of mess around with the idea, and sort of in a very hacky way, for like an automated spectator system.
Yeah,
basically, I've been trying to like delay the input coming from the server to the spectator, like put like 5 seconds in between it,
so you
know in advance what happened, who killed who. So you can you know where everyone's going, you know all the paths are taken, who killed who. You can have camera paths, put them in the right positions. You know, some guy's spamming rockets. You know exactly when the right rocket's going to come, and as soon as he shoots that, you go into projectile cam and shoot hit the guy. And then from there, you know there's someone right behind him, so you smooth the camera back, pan out to the next angle.
Definitely.
So,
this is proper director stuff. That,
you know,
and then it can all be automated.
Yeah, and it's automated. So like 60% of the time would be automated, but then as the caster, you can still, maybe you're having a discussion about a certain player, then you can override that and lock in with the thing.
That's so much depth to casting, because right now, like, arena FPS are chaotic to watch just in a normal spectator system, right? You just don't understand what's going on. If you have a caster that is experienced and can do the bridge between a new player that doesn't understand the game, and then actually showing what's going on. It's so important to gather new players, because arena FPS are just so hard to start with. It's so much stuff going on. It's hard as fuck.
Yeah, the only game type that works really as a spectator is 1v1 at the moment.
Yeah.
The others are just too chaotic. There's too much happening across the map. You can't follow the action.
Even in one-on-one, as we were talking before, you can't really understand the depth of like a high skill.
Unless you got a really good commentator.
Yeah, if you have like a good commentator, maybe you can do the bridge, but it's so hard still, because everything is happening like 1 second. Would be cool to do some replays and stuff like that, and then like rethink about the movements and what decisions and stuff like that, you know.
I mean, a lot of that stuff I imagine is going to be, you know, post-analysed, that people, you know, after that initial game's done, we're going to be moving on to sort of having a guy by a whiteboard going, okay, this is what he should have done at this point, and then rewind the video. And I think that's the kind of production that Epic were heading. Like I was suggesting that idea that you know, we shouldn't have gone to pauses when we were streaming. This is like a test stream that we were doing today.
Today was basically like a rehearsal for future competitive events, like a big competitive event, I would think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And this was a good introduction, like going, okay, we're not going to do breaks next time, because when we did breaks, we lost viewers. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do, like, you know, analyse the game afterwards. We're going to have some guy, you know, for 15 minutes to talk about what happened, and then he's going to talk about what's coming up in the next game, and we're going to go back straight into the action. We're always going to be having content rather than, oh, we're going for lunch. And
never turning that screen on that's like, we'll be right back.
Probably would make sense, like an introduction to the map that is going to be played, like an overview about it, like if you're playing on DMLE, okay, this is a map that is a bit one-sided or not, and you have the helmet here and blah blah blah. Players tend to control the shock rifle because it's blah blah blah. Stuff
and then,
like that.
Like Hypno's head comes up and says, you know, he's won this map 98% of the time because he's stupidly good with rockets. He smashed me over. But
you can actually show stats like probably better with sniper, better with rockets. Then you kind of can't connect those things in like play styles, and maybe this map favors more.
I think that's exactly right. Like, it's almost like you're building a story.
You need to build a story and to show the player like his past achievements, what he has been doing, where he comes from, what.
You know, how he's been training, and then like how he's made this approach into this particular map. And then if the underdog story happens, then it's even more epic.
Basically, you need to create a human to the nickname. To like a Hypno is a person. I'm a person, but people when are watching the stream, they see me like as some kind of a robot. And I'm not. I have emotions. I laugh a lot. I like to get tense and stuff. You know.
Your aim is not like human.
I wouldn't say that. Its skin is bad. I'm not good with it.
One of the things that I noticed that was interesting on the stream was that, you know, when they were picking the teams and when people were playing, they had like the gamer card on there. And they showed pictures of us.
It was cool.
So it was no longer like this is just some guy with a weird nickname on the internet. It was like, these are real people that are playing the game, and you can be doing this too.
So imagine that with like a bigger introduction, like
I mean, we have to compare this with real quote unquote sports, because that's exactly how they lay it out. You see the player, you see them spin around, you see the statistics, you see the highlight reel.
What he's done.
Exactly, and
biography basically.
And this is actually a really good transition to people that are non-gamers, essentially. And I mean, we're catering to the gamers, the FPS, or people that play FPS, people that don't, or moms and pops out there who are already familiar with basketball, baseball, soccer, football. So if you format it that way, in which the spectator mode does, then like, oh, I don't understand the rules of the game, but I understand what's going on because I'm already familiar with the format. I have no idea what the rules of football is. Audibles, I don't know what that are. But there was a game they like showed the background of the team, like at 1985, this team beat this team after like sudden death. 15 years later, here they are. So I was like, okay, I know the stakes are really high. So when they start making touchdowns, like, I have no investment in this team before this, but I know one of them is an underdog, like you said. and now I feel like I'm rooting for them. Because
yeah, you need to connect like socially to,
exactly.
to them. Like imagine if I'm playing Zaccubus in a World Tournament Finals. Yeah, it would be cool to have like an introduction, like a video of me, maybe in Portugal, walking in the beach and stuff. You know, like showing my showing my
walking
life.
down the beach, picking up on ladies with your shirt off.
No, it's not. No, I mean,
then meeting my underpants in the grey-lit skies of England. Raining.
I mean, basically adding a story to a player, like, and showing how different persons are, and like link them to the nicknames. You know,
100%.
It's like if you watch poker on the TV, they do that with poker professional players, and you actually link to them, and then you're curious about how they're going to perform.
Yeah. Then
So
So and using every intermission for analysis or telling another story, or not having a break where it's like, okay, we're not going to talk about anything now for 10 or 20 seconds while we wait for this to happen. Using your time effectively so that like, all right, we're a minute from the break, so what are we going to talk about during the break? And
ads.
which was good. Takes a lot of work and a lot of production. I mean, like what they did today was pretty darn good production wise, but I mean,
it's got a long ways
to go. Yeah. Now, if I could switch gears for a little bit, because I kind of get the impression that there is still some concern about whether the game or the specific game types themselves are actually fun to watch. So, having gone through this whole thing today, what do you guys think? Where do you think we're at? What do you think needs to happen?
The only fun game modes really to watch is 1v1. This is the only thing that can give you that story and that sort of emotion. Of course, today wasn't the greatest example, but usually it is. But TDM,
you need
is
more
too
maps
hectic.
anyway.
Yeah, you do.
We only played one map, but you need at least best of 3 or something like that. But then again, the biggest problem about Duel is what I talked before. I think
it's hard to.
It's cool to watch, but then you don't have many duels. You don't have many people that are willing to duel because it's too much pressure.
It's tough.
People are blaming themselves. If they play on team, they blame the others. So they are. So they are. I mean they don't blame the others, but they don't feel
it's not all
as bad.
Them.
It's not all.
They're not alone. That's the thing. That's the main reason.
But like, if you lose, you don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
Basically,
it's not even just that you're alone. I mean, I play Hearthstone a lot, and that's a one-on-one game. But when I play Hearthstone, I don't give a crap. It's a stupid little card game, and it's over in like 5 minutes. But with a duel, you're like committing to like a 10 to 20 minute match, and that's very. It requires a lot of mental commitment to play.
And you don't really want... Most people don't really want to commit to that because it's too... You get like fear from it. Like losing.
A lot of the players that, when we started the duels yesterday, and I was expecting actually more people to be more familiar with duel actually than anything else. And I was like, and they're just roaming around the map. I'm like, you should go get that 50 arbor that you just ran past. Go back to it.
Well, and and I think that's another problem is that this 1v1 is not a test of your ultimate skill at Unreal Tournament. It's a test of how good you are at one-on-one, and that largely means controlling power-ups, knowing where weapons are, knowing where the other person is. It's a very specific set of skills that the majority of UT players don't have or aren't very good at.
But the thing is, if you master 1v1, you can go to any game mode.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Like basically, if you master one-on-one, if you play at the high level, you have frag power to go to TDM and do damage, to go to CTF and do damage. Even though maybe you're not the best TDMer, maybe you're not the best CTFer, but you can do damage.
You can play.
The high level of duel is pretty damn high.
It pushes you to go to extra levels in those games. Like when I was playing CTF, I was timing for the whole team. I was yelling at the time as nobody else was.
Well, and those are the skills that you use in CTF are skills that are required in every other game type. It's just, like he says he's not good at hit scan, so he's not going to sit somewhere where a good hit scanner needs to sit in CTF, but he can time the power-ups, he can control the hallways, he can
But
play
in
on
CTF,
defense.
you can be slightly lazy with the timing as well, because you could find other guys that can help you time.
Exactly.
So are there changes that you would still make to 1v1 at this point, or do you think that it's better off focusing on some sort of new game type?
I think 1v1 right now is okay. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
There's some balancing issues that need to be worked out, but right, every competitive player, like Hypno, myself, Chumbo, we all agree that we need a new big social team game that is new, that introduces new players. It introduces the old school players from other games such as Quake and all the other Unreal tournaments that have a fresh chance to build up a whole new different set of skills that they can introduce to and have a sort of...
I think we have a problem here though, that the majority of community isn't this open-minded regarding it. Like, if we just... It's so hard to create a new game type that is going to be successful, because you've been playing UT, people have been playing UT forever, and they're used to Duel and TDM and some CTF and FFA, and you know,
the
so
funny
it's so
thing
hard.
is that they don't want to spend the time. Also, it's just trying it out for just a couple of hours. Like, just imagine when a new map comes out.
It's already hard for them to try UT4 and play UT4.
I think that
so
there's
a new game type is even more alien to them.
I definitely think that there's some scars there, because I remember coming from the Unreal Tournament 2003 community, and we were super competitive into CTF. I mean, we were basically playing a clan match every night, and then 2K4 came around, and Onslaught was the new game type, and Onslaught pretty much decimated a lot of what we had in the 2K3 community. Part of it was they changed a lot of the rules, like the fast weapon switch and stuff that we really liked, but really the ultimate issue was that all of the new players that came in just wanted to play Onslaught, and we had no interest in playing it whatsoever. So I think that's kind of what some people are worried about. And the question is, okay, so if you have something as new as Onslaught, is it going to be something that's really not even close to what we're used to? And if you have something that's more still a traditional normal weapons deathmatch game type, is it going to be different enough to get people?
To be honest, we are dinosaurs. We are extinct. All of us in this room. We all have our own opinions. We're stuck in our old ways. We're not making a game for us anymore. We're making the game for the future kids that want to play Unreal Tournament. When I played UT99 to 2K4, I was loving the fact there was all these different game modes. When I first started playing them, it was like, oh my god, I can drive a vehicle that opens up with bloody wings of death, that I can chop people's heads off. Awesome, I can squash people. I love that. I was exploring these game modes. As I got older and I would play games, I would go, which is the main competitive game mode?
Yeah.
And I would just play that. And, you know, I wouldn't attempt anything else. And it's my old stubborn nature. And people are not really listening to themselves or just ignoring themselves. They just want to play the game that they remember and have nostalgia for. And I think it's a sin almost. It's like we need to work through that. We need to build that game for those future generations. And we'll have Unreal Tournament. That's the thing. We will have Unreal Tournament, but it's going to be something different and new that everybody can experience on a fresh start. And I think that's the most important thing we can achieve.
So what would be the things, if in a new game type, what are some specific things that you think you'd be looking for? For me, I really think that we need some sort of negative feedback loop, some way to keep games close. In Hearthstone, there's so much RNG in that game that half the time that you lose, it's just dumb luck, and it's actually quite annoying. Yeah. But it's fun because every time that it happens, it's crazy, and you still have fun.
But I think that's in your head, though, and that's why it's successful, because it's like blaming your teammate when you lose. It's like when you lose in Hearthstone, it's like, oh, I got bad RNG.
Yeah,
but then when you win, it's like, oh, I fucking set that deck up perfectly.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
exactly
true.
That's good.
But it's always close. I wish there was more close games.
It gives you it's setting up a scapegoat. Like, you need something else that you can say, that's what caused me to do this, even if it didn't cause you to do it at all. A random number generator, I mean, you look at games that are like Dungeons and Dragons, like the whole success there is rolling the dice. Like, if you get a bad roll and it causes you to die, you blame the dice, right? It fell wrong.
It's like matchmaking in League of Legends. Once you get the really bad player, like you wait for a game and then you get a bad player because he's not on your skill level, and then you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, this one fucking player, blah blah blah. If only we didn't get him, we wouldn't have lost the game. But if you had a matchmaking system that went, okay, we're going to open it up to lower skill players. Is this okay? Do you want this, or would you rather wait? Then if you say okay, it's kind of like you know what you were getting in for. It's your own damn fault that you lost that, isn't it? It's just it would be a nice way of doing it. It's just.
So what are some other things in a game type that you guys interested in?
So what I like about TAM, for instance, now it's lacking depth because it doesn't have any objective play in it. So it's just a camp fest, do the damage, but it's very easy to get a hold of. You've got all the weapons, so if you're a new player, you can scroll to your favourite weapon straight away and you can do damage, which is really important. You want to feel like you're contributing to a game. But also, that even if you lose one round, the next round is a fresh brand new start. Everybody starts on the same health again, you start on the same map again, you know the position and you know how to position yourself very quickly. And this is why I think CS is very good at this. You know, once you learn a part of a map and you just hold that part of the map for say 3 or 4 months when you're learning CS, and then you can, when you die, you can watch all the different other parts of the map being played properly from your teammates. It's a nice educational system that doesn't stress you out too much. You've got time when you're dead to relax after you've been killed and understand deeper parts of the game that you wouldn't necessarily understand in the traditional Unreal tournament, which is full on aggressive pace that you always respawn just to make another mistake that you don't really understand what the mistake was. If you play deathmatch for the first time, you get killed. You respawn, you get killed. You respawn, you get killed. And it's an endless cycle of the same thing. And you go, I can get a weapon. And then you die. And then you're on the other side of the map. You don't know where you are on the other side of the map because you spawned on the other side of the map. But in CS, you spawn on the same side.
You always spawn at the same spot every time.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You take your path every time. And
Yeah,
you
exactly.
learn eventually where you're going.
Exactly.
Anyone else?
I was going to mention when you were talking about how like the weakest player would have all the weapons to start off with. It kind of reminded me of Mario Kart. I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart lately, and the great thing about Mario Kart is there's a lot of really close games because the further back you are, the better items you get.
Yeah.
Like you get a bullet bill and you like zoom past 3 people or 4 people. Even if you completely suck, you get that instant gratification, and and that kind of balances those that are really good with Mario Kart can be at first, but maybe they want to hold back and not completely dominate the whole map because they're going to get screwed by the blue shell. Yeah. So they would like purposefully hold back, maybe in second, and this will create this first and second, almost like a one-on-one thing. But the overall result is everyone is relatively close, and that makes for a really close game. And that means there's a chance for people that just jumped in. Maybe they'll get lucky with a good roll on an item. We're talking about something like a randomly generated thing, that there's always hope. Even if it's like in your mind, there is hope. And I think that is enough to get the new players to continue playing and then learn the mechanic, and then the appreciation of the mechanic takes over, and it's no longer about dumb luck, but rather the fun about getting the better skill and trying to outwit and then you start to hate the new players because they get the better weapons, but you would make it a challenge to kind of counter that in your own way, and in that sense that becomes your new goal. So both parties, old and new, kind of have their own fun, but within the same game, which I think is really important. I don't know how that's going to work.
TAM had that combat mechanic at the start, but competitive players removed
turned it off.
So but for casuals it was brilliant. It was a nice way of like giving that combat mechanic, but what it should be is there should be objectives to go for, like a U damage that spawns not like every round, but every 3 rounds, and everybody knows that when that comes up, there's a whole different element of play that comes in and stuff like that. But
I think TAM lacked depth. But
I think so. But this
why was TAM popular? Because you basically had all the weapons, so it was easier to frag. Anyone could frag with all the weapons.
Point.
I mean,
like anybody.
I know
starting with all the weapons. You think?
I know it's easier, but for spectating, to be honest, I don't see it.
But the thing is, you could adapt it even more so. You could have a system where you get a list of weapons that each of your teammates. So somebody could get the bio rifle, but you could nominate somebody to have the sniper rifle. Your best guy with your hit scan.
Then you would play strategically. With
and then you're like, okay, so who's going to hold the rocket launcher? That kind of thinking, and that's more in depth. Like then you go, okay, well we have to position you in the right place on the map for that weapon. And I think that would be a more interesting mechanic of building it up, and you'd eventually get, like in Call of Duty, you get those guys on the sniper rifle all the time that hold those positions, and then you have the AKs and the rifles that hold the mid ground, and then you have the SMGs that rush in to bomb sites to clear it out first, and you get this unique dynamic.
I think that there's not enough tactical play, team tactical play in TAM. It's CTF is the game type that really has the most tactical play, and I think that's why it's held the esteem in the community that it has.
I totally agree with TAM not having enough tactical play, but I think in terms of the combat mechanic, I think it did it pretty well for what it was as a mod.
I even think that, maybe I'm biased, but I even think that TDM has more tactical play, because
no, it does 100%.
Well, that's why TAM's
I never said that it didn't.
It's like brain dead, just fucking just
Twitch.
The mouse button.
It's Twitch.
It's the fun.
It is.
I love the Twitch. I mean,
yes.
you notice almost every gameplay change that I've advocated for is making the game more twitchy. Fast weapon switch, faster game speed, different movement, faster trans. These are all things that I think make the game more twitchy. But the truth is the way that gamers are going now, they are far more interested in tactical play. Like, you look at this, all of these games that are supposed to be pseudo League of Legends likes.
They want the best of both worlds, let's be honest. They don't want it too tactical, because then it's too bizarre, it's too crazy. Look at 1v1, that's too tactical.
Yeah, but there's like this game that Blizzard is making, for instance, or like these pseudo MOBA 1v1 games, that I feel like that's where the industry is headed.
But if we look at like Overwatch at the moment, and you go, it's a first person, but really it's a MOBA. It's not about aim in Overwatch.
Exactly.
It's about the skills.
Exactly.
And do you need aim for skills? No. How are we FPS players going to transition over there? We're going to actually transition pretty terribly, if you ask me. If we're going to have people that are playing those games, the MOBA crowd are going to overtake on Overwatch more than FPS players, because they understand the skills and the timings and the damages and how they correspond with each other, and that teamwork to correspond those different items. It's not about having a really good LG in that game, and that's eliminating a lot of skill.
Yeah.
By just spamming out big AoE skills.
Unless they have really like high skill, like you could think of a shot combo as a skill.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
it's a huge skill.
A character, I don't know what Overwatch has or whatever, but you could have really high skilled characters to play,
Character skills, yeah.
But in Overwatch, you're gonna see that character tracer, right? What's the difference between her and somebody using a translocator? Because she just walks around, like she has free jumps, she can walk around, do whatever she likes. But Unreal Tournament has that same skill element.
But the aim is
it's just going to be
from it.
it's going to be completely removed from it, and you'll be able to catch her off so easily off guard, and it's not going to be as overpowered as a translocator. When you're traveling across the map, like when I play CTF, I never feel threatened with a translocator. As you were saying, you couldn't hit anything.
No,
we didn't have good enough telemonkeys at the event.
I think it's about getting used, though. Like people like Xios and stuff, they already know. Like it's like Duel. You need to get used to stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't played CTF since 2002, so it's normal that I'm not used to that. But yeah, it's not really. You don't know. I didn't really know where to aim, because there was guy just translocating everywhere. It's
you're totally right. Yeah.
So Xios just walked in the room. So what do you think about the discussion we've been having here?
I agree with a lot of what Hypno and Zaccubus are saying, and TAM it's just a fun game to jump into, but it doesn't have any depth. So.
But it's about that combination of getting the depth and also being able to jump into.
With the objectives.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Yeah. So you have
when you don't have if you don't have the CS way of how headshots and those RNG moments, thing is, a noob can actually beat a pro. In that one round, he could get 3 headshots and he can feel like the fucking boss.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen in UT. You can't do that.
Well, you need an objective.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. You have to have an objective. In CS, it's the bomb. You have to have a crush point that forces people into
a situation
to engaging each other. Yeah. So I think something like that in UT, if they can figure out maybe a new game type that can have that, and then also maybe varied objectives in the game, and make something new where it's kind of slow paced, but then maybe it's fast paced, but it's not always constant.
I think in the past we were always too scared to try the new things. Though I think what happened was once UT99 came out, and this is a classic example, right? So the CPL wanted to do an Onslaught tournament, and all the UT2K4 people went, no, we want TDM.
Yeah, exactly.
There were more people playing Onslaught, as we were speaking to Steve, than TDM back in those days.
Yeah, definitely.
It was the wrong move. It was like you shouldn't have listened. We should have just evolved. To
I remember
different.
watching Gibbs practicing Onslaught.
Yeah, I did as well.
It was hilarious. I mean, it's just funny.
Well, it is funny.
It was because I was at that time too. The team that I played for, a frag system, was one of the early ones to go to the top of that ladder, and practicing Onslaught was really weird. I was kind of foreign. So I wanted to mention one other thing that the developers said to me that is kind of related, and Steve said several times, we're going to make the game that we believe will bring the most spectators in, and not necessarily the game that the current pros want. So I think it's definitely going that way.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's definitely going in the right steps. I mean, all the guys that I was speaking to in terms of Hypno, Chumbo, Wolf, Blair, they all have that same opinion as well. It's the top end guys want it to be more friendly and open and more sociable. We want that team game type that everybody can jump into and have fun, but yet enough depth. And I think Epic have took that advice on seriously at this event. I've hammered them with it so many times already, and I've done the CS speech about 9 times already in 6 different conversations. But I think it's making a point, and they're listening to that, and they're going, okay, we're going to really think of something different. And I think this is where we all have to step up and come up and give these ideas as well. But I don't honestly, if an idea comes up and a concept is formed, it's not a day trial. It's not, we jump on, it doesn't work. And that's what happens, even on new maps. We try it for like 2 minutes and go, no, it's not the right map. People don't give it enough of a chance to grow on them. And they want to go back to where it's safe and cozy and what they're used to.
You have those maps that you play like 1 or 2 times and it's just great, like Chill just proves to be
exactly.
Like you play Chill and you feel at home already. It's like you don't feel lost. For example, on Seed Castle, I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but man, I played that map like 20 times and I still feel lost there. Yeah. For some reason.
There's specific places in that map where you know where you are, but when you're not in those areas, it's like, where the heck am I?
I don't feel...
How do they connect together is complicated.
So I never played it again. If it's on FFA, I just leave. I leave the game because... On the other hand, Chill is a great map that you can always know where you are. You never get lost. We've been playing it in TDM 200.
I think the problem with Sid Castle is that, well, so the best example of a map that I think is easy to navigate is ASDF, because it's very obvious as soon as you get into it that this is basically just a giant diamond. And when you're in Sid Castle, you can't really ever tell if you're like at the front of the castle or the back of the castle. Especially like maybe you can do that when you're on the top level, but you definitely can't do that when you're on the bottom level because there's not enough things to get your bearings with.
Yeah, so that was his first map, and then we go to like say what was the last TM1 Temple?
Yeah,
like that one's still big, complex. Yeah. But it really didn't take me long to figure out. Like there's enough unique stuff in there.
It's a lot easier, but so it's huge. It's not like
so it's gone from Sid Castle to that. So it's the right direction.
So if we could switch gears a little bit over to some of the gameplay stuff. So we haven't done the podcast in a little while. I'm not going to go over all of the specific gameplay changes that we've done. But I do want to know, like, what are the things in the game right now that you want to change, like maybe top 3 and just...
I can give you one right now.
Okay, here we go.
So, basically shock rifle balls doing 50 damage.
They don't do anymore.
They don't do anymore?
45.
Yeah,
they knocked it down.
Yep.
Still too much.
Too much?
Still too much? No, come on.
Well, you can only drop it down to
okay,
what?
So
would it be 4 hits?
Like I think 40 or 30. They're meant to be comboed. Look, the only time you spam them out is when if somebody's point blank to you. Now, if somebody gets point blank to you when you've got a shock rifle out, that is your fault. You should be rewarded for making that ground, for catching them off guard. you shouldn't be, you know, them getting the upper ground because
more
you're in
or
a
less,
smaller
because
space.
like right now projectiles are so powerful that you at least you have something to counter projectiles. Like if someone with rockets, you can spam some like go away, man.
Yeah,
and
but
if
it
I
shouldn't knock
actually
you
hit
back.
you all the rockets, your shock cores won't damage me much because you'll be dead in 1 second or 2. So.
Like if that situation happens though, right, you spam out, right, you hit me 3 times, and you've also got a pushback effect. Now the primary fire has a pushback effect.
Yeah.
Why not use the primary fire instead? That's what you want. You want space.
And that,
I don't
and that
think
takes more skill to hit
Exactly.
the hit scan. Than
Exactly.
the fucking
And it's,
10
you know,
ball.
right, you got short range, you got long range, you got a bloody choke point destroyer. It does too much.
I believe that the shock rifle is by far the most powerful weapon in the game right now, and when I play, I personally don't bother using anything other than shock and rockets.
Like I love the shock rocket, there's no doubt about it, but it's just, you get in a close range fight, and it just becomes a spam fest, and they can't change weapon quick enough, and they know it, as we all know, the weapon switch is pretty low, but you know, that doesn't bother me most of the time, because I anticipate, and you anticipate, what weapon is needed for those situations.
Yeah, but I think it's too slow, to be honest.
I do think it could go faster.
Yeah,
it could.
I think we all
Maybe it could have been like can have different times depending on which weapon you're.
Yeah.
What you
switching
just
to.
fired. And,
Yeah, well, I'm up for that, but yeah, right now it's just too slow.
And it's also noticeable for me, at least as a CTF player, where like you know you have a weapon out, you switch to trans, you throw the trans, you go back to just maybe shoot someone with rockets flying by, and you want to translocate to your puck after you're done with that. You know, going back to your trans, there's just too
all the 2K4 tricks you
right,
still
the tricks
can't
that
do.
you can do. It's like you feel handicapped almost.
Well, that was something that everyone hated in UT3. Like the switch time to the translocator was so long.
That was what ruined CTF in that game, in my opinion, was that delay. There was a specific delay just for switching to the translocator because they didn't want you to be able to do those kinds of tricks. So I don't know. Like that's my biggest pet peeve. Well, not pet peeve, but I don't like using that word. But if I could change something, it would definitely be the weapon switch speed.
Yeah.
If I only got one thing, it would be that for sure.
Yeah, but I think 4 shot balls on 100 health. I think that's fair. That's fine. If I run into 4 shot balls, then it's my fault.
Well, what if the shock balls were just harder to hit with, or
you mean
those are other ways to balance it besides the damage?
That's fine. That's also acceptable. They're the biggest projectile in the game as well. So I'd happily go with that.
Okay, cool. What about you, Briz? What would you change at this point most?
I don't know. I think, I mean, there's still stuff that I'd like to see, like some movement changes and stuff, but I mean, the game's fun where it is right now. And we were talking to Steve earlier today. He was saying, you know, if that stuff stayed the same, would it keep a new player from playing the game? I don't think so.
No,
a new player's going to come in. I mean, people on the stream are already saying this game's way too fast for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like one of the things that coming here and talking to Steve especially has shown me is that a lot of the stuff I was worried about before really doesn't matter. I mean, we've watched 3 different UT games go by, each of them increasingly less popular than the previous one, and I want UT to be a popular game.
Yeah, me too. Like that's what we all want. That's why we're all here. Is to make it that next level, and that we can build it all together and make the game that we hope to dream for. And we'll always have those game modes. We're always going to have something that we can go back to and we can enjoy and have that nostalgia. But I don't think right now we've got the game mode to really carry it to that next level. I think we've got the spectator features now, and we're going to build up towards that moment. And it's only a matter of time until that happens. I mean, it took 2 weeks to build a spectator mode, and it's just 2 weeks. That blows my mind. I've been telling companies and different games developers for years, this is what you need to do. You need to make a multi-view spectator. It goes like this. This is what World in Conflict did in 2007. They blew it out of the water. It was just, you know, the game didn't get enough attention, so it just disappeared and nobody ever heard of it. And now we've got this, and it's a huge head start now. And the movement, where it is, like, I would like to see some changes, but it's not for me now. It's not
the movement,
my game.
Actually, there were some changes about the acceleration I don't know if the majority of you.
Oh, that's right.
But
yes.
for me, my first reaction was that it was bad because I felt like I was skating on ice, to be honest. Now I got a bit more used to it, and I think I'll get used to it if it doesn't change. I'm not it's not breaking the game or anything, but I prefer the old movement. Actually, I still think it needs to be more responsive. Sometimes it bugs out with mantling. I think mantling is great, but it's not working like it should because of the capsule system.
I remember when the first event, you seemed a little more consistent with the mantling and stuff.
Yeah, well, right now sometimes it seems especially on deck pit and armor and stuff, I just get stuck. You know, it's not as snappy.
What annoys me is when I'm trying to jump down from somewhere and I'm trying to do it like either very slowly and sneaky, and it's like, and I'm like, no, I want it to go. Whee.
Or if you bump into a corner and just kind of hang on to it for a second before you
it needs
drop
fixing.
off of
Sometimes it seems still buggy and not very responsive sometimes. I feel the game sometimes does things that it's not supposed to do, and I'm not in full control. And in previous UTs I was.
And I still feel like that I would like to see there be something that speaks a little bit more to the 2K4 crowd. I mean, the slide is a little bit like that, but I don't feel like they're.
I actually saw people sliding today.
Really give a chance. But sliding is actually a mechanic that has its uses in specific situations, like sliding up a ramp. Gets you up the ramp significantly faster. It's actually quite useful for that.
Actually, I noticed I think they've tweaked the acceleration when you go, because on Lear I was like flying under it, like really much.
They must have increased it a little bit.
Like if you get, like I dodged off the top from the shield belt, and then you dive perfectly. If you don't hit anything, you zoom across it. You're much quicker.
And of course, there's that exploit that you showed us on playing.
How to win a game.
So, the game. I'm sure that so people that are listening, you can go and watch the Twitch channel and watch basically us playing for the whole day. But basically, what happened was it was CTF community versus developers, and the community knew about an exploit where you can slide underneath of the window in CTF blank by the sniper rifle, and when the developers were done, Joe came over, was just raving mad about us being dirty cheaters.
Yeah, Sydney actually still not talking to me. He's communicating through grumps and growling noises. And
he was a bit mad.
He was really mad when I spoke to him. David talked to me.
So I have a few questions about some of the other weapons, just because things that have changed. What do you think about with the link gun right now?
I think it's okay right now.
Think it's okay?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I need to play more, but before it was completely.
I think
it's terrible.
That pull.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, the pull.
Yeah.
Not the pull.
The pull
it's
is
the
still
lockdown.
there, right?
The lockdown. You could actually stop people. Like they couldn't move.
I was trying to say for ages, lockdown is not like when we had the tractor beam. It was more fairer because if you made the mistake of doing it when they had a good weapon in their arsenal, that they could just 180 damage you essentially in a close range fight. It was a kind of a risk, but with the lockdown you can hold your range, so you can instead of bringing them in closer, you just basically stay put, they stay put. Well, I don't need to move. I just I can lock you down, keep you stood there.
It's the most irritating
and
thing.
if you do decide to run away, then I can pull you, but now that it's kind of like more I can pull you when I need to pull you, but
it's more
I still have to
balanced.
catch up.
Maybe it's not like right on point, but it's way better than it was before.
But I like the idea of hiding behind things and waiting people to go for a shield belt and go yoink and chuck them off. I think is a nice mechanic that we haven't seen in other games. So.
What about the flag cannon?
Well, I think the flag cannon, like before in previous builds, it was totally broken. Right now, I don't think it's perfect. Sometimes I can hit and do a lot of damage. Sometimes I hit like 4 times and it seems I should kill the guy and I don't kill the guy.
Yeah.
Especially at medium range.
So it seems inconsistent. I don't know what's wrong about it, but it seems inconsistent. It's still better than the broken one, OP one, but
you'd rather the flat cannon be underpowered than
No, I mean before it was gameplay breaker. Before it was gameplay breaker. If you spawn near a flag and the guy had control, you felt like Superman and you could fucking go into him and break the map lock.
You could just go like on the SDF, like the shield belt room, like if you died and you spawned by flak and they're just going for shield belt.
Yeah, you could just attack.
Yeah, because you get that angle, you get that positioning as they come up the ramp and it's like 180 damage.
Like, if you actually spawned a flag, you would say like, yes, I can still win this game even though I just died.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get like monster kills and stuff, you know.
But then, right now, I feel like it's almost useless at point blank range. Like, if I've got a rocket, I'm like, I need to use the rocket now instead of the flat cannon. And it's just
it's
inconsistent.
worth it to take the splash damage because you actually know it's going to
like
connect.
the shell,
I think
the
it
secondary.
should do more damage, but travel a little slower, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, like that way it's
For
not.
me,
just
the
moving
UT2K4
or
flag
kill
was
people.
perfect.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with that
I
statement
love
as
the
well.
UT2K4.
Yeah. Well, the problem right now, like one of the problems is that the spread on it is just so huge. Like even at medium range, you're only hitting maybe
Like
one or two shards if you're
And
lucky.
the spread is random.
That
That's
doesn't
why I
bother
think
me
it
at
feels
medium
random.
range though. Like I only ever use it at those close ranges. Like there's no point using any other raids. If you are, then you're using the secondary shell.
But it feels like even
The secondary
it
is
feels
quite
like
okay now.
Yeah,
I think,
Yeah,
though.
it feels like though at close and medium range, it's kind of the same deal. Like you're gonna hit one or two shards a lot
But
of
at the
times,
moment,
and
the close range is definitely compromised, and you can feel it. And where it was like consistent in certain moments, where it's like I can pull it back here if I get one good flat. It's like I just fired 6 shots and nothing's happened.
Yeah.
So
And the time it takes you to hit those 6 shots, you know, it's important.
yeah, exactly.
So speed up the fire
It needs work.
rate or something.
But sometimes it works. Sometimes, like, I play Chambo and stuff, and it just walks straight, like with the flag, and boop, and he kills me. He actually kills me. But sometimes he does it, and it doesn't work the same way. It just seems inconsistent.
I think
It seems
you
that
said
the
it's
damage
random
is there,
spread,
but
right?
it's
The spread is. I think they've changed
Well, then
how the randomness
rotates
is
or something.
generated.
the
too,
center
right?
shard, which is always
Yeah.
100% accurate, but then the rest of it's randomly
Random,
generated. Well, I think there's like 6 different patterns and it randomly selects.
So you could have
one of the
somewhere
patterns.
around the bullseye that there may end up being more shards, and that'll do a lot of damage.
Could be. So there are any other features that you would really like to see making the game? I would really like to see. I know this is a small thing, but custom crosshairs, please.
Oh
That's-
yeah.
that's
Cannot
coming.
stand that
That's
default
coming.
crosshair.
We already have hidden weapons, I think, because I whined a lot before coming here. Because
Well done.
yeah, well, it was funny because then I got used like 3 days before. I thought I couldn't use hidden weapons here, so I got used to
The
showing
weapon
weapon
again,
again. So I actually played here with the weapon, but now I'm going back to hidden weapons. Yeah. So basically, in Spectator, I think it's super important to have gun models.
I was just about to
In
say
the
that.
first person. We were just streaming to 2K people, and they weren't understanding a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
was going on because of that.
No gun
see the
model.
We
weapon.
had no gun model, we had no you killed message,
Yeah.
we had no crosshair. That is
Worse.
And like
thing.
Zach
huge
told me,
mistake.
this whole new Spectator system has only been up for like a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they
Yeah.
only,
They specifically mentioned the weapon model as something
Yeah,
like
I
they're
know,
trying to get in.
I mentioned to
It-
Steve,
it's-
like, the priority is getting that weapon model in because
yeah, it's the priority.
I'm going to say the
I mean,
story I've said like 8 times before is the Shoot Mania story when I did just a shootout at an event and I was playing it and some guy came up to me and went, what's that flight simulator you're playing? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, where's the gun model then? I'm like, fair point, you know? You know, if
Makes
I'm
sense.
skiing down a map, he obviously thought I was flying, so...
yeah, I actually never understood why Shoot Many didn't have a gun model.
Because they're idiots. so...
No, I mean, they created a...
They should have just had the arm with
I
the
think
laser
it was
on
just
it.
an oversight, you know.
Yeah, it was.
That's all it was.
It could have been
As,
they
as stupid as that sounds, you know, like
maybe they were just trying to appeal and having a gun model put an age rating or something stupid like that. But in
yeah, maybe
Germany,
it was because of that. Because of being violent.
to be honest, there is no
Too
door in it.
violent.
I mean, you disappear
No,
when you shot them. I
It's,
think
the game is
an arm
called
would've-
Shoot Mania.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. It's true that Shoot Many.
So can we move on? There's one last thing I want to talk because we're getting up on 50 minutes here. And that is all of the hats and so forth. So we talked about it on the podcast before, but like it's actually in there now. And this past week, there's been quite a bit of drama surrounding Skyrim moving over to paid mods, and then Valve reneging on that. So, what do you guys think about that whole situation? How that affects this project?
I personally think if you put the time in to make great content, I think you can, I think you have the right to go, okay, it's going to cost this much to charge it. Now, the problem with Valve is they didn't tell anyone. They just went ahead and fucking did it. That was the main mistake.
So
they
you could have
this.
already been using the mod for a long time, and now all of a sudden you have to pay for it.
So that feels kind of wrong, definitely. But for UT, we're going to be at a fresh start, so everybody knows where they're going to be starting at. With Skyrim, it's kind of like, all right, okay, this was free, it's not free now.
Yeah.
And that's a huge difference.
Well, I think too you have to consider, like, I think people that are making content are going to have to make a hard decision, because if you charge for content, you're going to have less users, a smaller user base. You're going to be more liable for the content you create. And there's questions like...
The fact is, the content that will be made will also be given away in parcels, and the more games you play, you'll get a random chance to win something and then maybe trade it on later on. And this is the systems that they want to implement Epic. They want to follow that CS route. And, you know, if somebody goes through the time of building that mod, you know, and not getting paid for it, then we're going to get less modders, we're going to get less content. And also, you know, if people don't have that incentive, we're not going to get the best talent. We're going to get people that are very amateur and just maybe want to have a portfolio sorted out, which is nothing wrong with that. But we could get the best of both worlds, amateurs as well as pros coming along to make a skin for, even though they focus on other games or whatever.
So what do you believe is like a fair price to pay for certain things? Like, would you pay for a map? How much would you pay for a total conversion? How much would you pay for a silly mutator?
Like, honestly, it depends on how good it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as simple as it is. But, like, also, if you don't decide to, like, this pay route, I mean, if there's a donation button,
Yeah.
brilliant. I would donate for the content that I would like.
I told Steve about that before the first event, and he said they're going to do that.
Yeah.
So a donation-based system, I think, is good.
Yeah,
it's how a lot of things have succeeded. You choose the price you want, you know.
Yeah,
Let's like
exactly.
Bandcamp or whatever, you know. So
Like it's 1 cent or
yeah,
15
if you
cents.
appreciate it, you know, and people will donate. Like just like it's a tip jar, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
it's up to you, and you can sustain people's developing things with
Exactly.
even that model if your work is quality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
because you can't have a server rotate maps and pop up. Oh, you don't know this map. Suck it.
Yeah.
You know, and send you to the pay page.
the,
And
the
you
guys
can't
that
do that.
subscribe to my YouTube channel at the moment, it's like, why do you do that? Like, all I'm doing is playing a game. It's like, these guys are spending hours building weapon models and skins. And it's like, you know, why would I pay for that? These guys are working. They're trying to find a way into this industry and make some money for themselves. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's specifically for mappers, because there seems to be like a stigma about paying for maps, you know, because of, you know, not wanting to be locked out of the game. But I really like the idea, someone put it forth, a couple people actually, to have a map pack specifically for tournaments where you're paying into the tournament. So not only are you, you know, putting money into the pot, but that part of that money goes to the map
mappers,
maker. Yeah, and so
Definitely.
Like
Right.
a cut would go towards that.
right,
Yeah.
and so you have the sense of community, which I think is very important, because people are willing to pay for something if they care about it.
Yeah.
If they care about an artist, they'll like buy up whatever, you know, if they're a fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Pay
I
for
think it would
whatever.
be cool if Epic did another kind of make something Unreal contest, you know, for maps and mods, but maps specifically, and just say, hey, you know, we're trying to do our first tournament or whatever, and we're gonna pick like 3 maps from the community, and you know, whatever 3 best maps we think we're gonna use, we'll give you a cut as an author of that map from the buy-in or whatever, you know, and then that way people would have like an incentive to do it, and then it would just snowball from there.
And they do that in Counter-Strike, and that's
Yeah.
popular in Counter-Strike. Like the tournament map pack, you have to buy it to get into the tournament, and then they share that revenue with the mappers.
Yeah,
Seems like a good way to get money to them too.
definitely.
Plus, it's something that people are familiar with, and that's the biggest thing. It's like, as long as people accept that I pay money for hats because I do it in Team Fortress 2. I spend $200 on hats because that's the thing to do. So, like, introducing, you know, ideas. I think mods will be a little bit of a harder sell. But like when you think about like Killing Floor used to be a mod, Red Orchestra used to be a mod, you know, all these.
Let's look at Valve's games. They were all bloody
Yeah,
mods.
they're all mods.
Yeah.
And if you have a total conversion, you know,
Right.
people might, you know, I'll drop
Yeah.
$10 on that.
Yeah, I feel like when
How
you
much
create a
money?
mod, or when you create a mod, you kind of create the community with that. So maybe like the first beta version will be free, and then after a while you drum up enough of a community. It's like, hey, help us out. Not necessarily like pay for this to play, but like, hey, donate whatever you can.
Well, you could even have like a goal system. Like my goal for this month for developing this mod is, $300 or $500 or something. And then that way you can just be like, everyone will pull their money together and just be like, well, once we hit the goal, then he can keep working on it,
It's like a Patreon type of
exactly.
system.
Exactly.
Funding people that are trying to create good content.
Yeah.
Be like, it's going to take me 7 months for the next update. However, if you do, if I get me up to like $200, I could take a week off work or something like that, and 7 months would be like 5 months or 4 months or 2 months.
Definitely.
So
I think that's the way forward that this community should work.
Definitely.
So it's time to bring it to a close, but I want to give you guys all opportunity to say whatever you want. You have some inspiring message you want the community to hear. You want to...
okay.
Hands? Raise of hands?
I'll go first.
As always.
Alright, just get it out of the way. I like to forfeit myself to tribute or whatever. But I don't know. I just, be patient, guys. This is it's not an instant step to building a game. We really got to slow it down and not get so heated to new ideas, new feelings, and all this kind of stuff. Like, don't hate it straight away. Give it a chance. It will build and it will grow on you. And remember, we're not building it for us anymore. We're building it for new players. And you've got to remember that we want Unreal Tournament, we want all the classic stuff, and we're going to have it. It's just that we need something else to make it.
It's a new game. It's not UT99 HD remake. It's not UT2K4. So just if you want to play some UT99 sometimes, go play.
It's a great game.
I mean, we need a new game like that. It's adapted to today's era and today's players. And like you said before, we are fucking dinosaurs, and we should be open-minded regarding.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think we get a little bit too close-minded on our nostalgia.
Of course. Some people on the forums are just even more closed-minded. You can't be like this, especially because Epic are doing such a great job of
definitely.
in being
Well, and they're
so
listening
open
too.
regarding-
I mean, they're adding features that people were asking for. All that stuff Zach asked for.
Everything we always wanted and asked for. So why are people so much?
And it's like when you
so
think about it, us being such old players or veteran players, it's like this is really our moment.
Yeah, it is.
Even all of the stuff you've done before, it doesn't matter. This is your moment to make the next generation go ahead and
guide them. Just come in, play, and get started.
Because those new players that are gonna come and kick our butts. They're gonna come. They're gonna come and start playing the game.
You can always
because of
see
you guys,
people with 4
right?
months experience, like Jaru and Flick Switch and stuff like that, actually doing well against UT99 players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They never played ET before. If they play against people with 10 years of experience, they can actually take maps from them. It's quite impressive.
The young bloods will always exist.
They learn faster, they adapt faster, and with all the new information that we have in this era, like when we started, we didn't have that information. We didn't know how to play a duel. We do now, and we can teach those skills on to new players. But hopefully, what we can do is we can all start from 0 point on a brand new game type that we can all grow together. I think that's the best solution.
And don't be afraid to take risks. Experiment, try things out.
Yeah, I think that the big thing I've been thinking, and I mean, we've kind of known that this is coming up anyways, but the project kind of is starting to enter in a different phase now. It definitely is. And so we're going to have to approach it differently. I think podcast is probably going to have to change format a little bit. So some of the things that we talk about on the forums are going to have to change a little bit. I know forums been a little nuts ever since Outpost 23 came out, but it's this kind of time to buckle down and get focused on that next stage of things, right? Because a lot of the stuff that we're interested in talking about is no longer the time for, right?
Yeah, it's a new world out there.
A whole new world.
Okay, that was a cheesy ending.
True that.
I like it.
Peace out.
Alright, let's do it again.